What's going on, family? It's therapy time. It's 11 p.m. on the East Coast, and it's time to get after it. Welcome to the Beatdown. I'm Brew. This is the Badger. What's going on, brother?
Hey man, ready to get my therapy on, man. I done had my physical therapy, now I'm ready for my mental and emotional therapy, bro. So I'm here for it.
All right, cool. Um, Listen, I sent you a message today, and I know you responded. Um, I was gonna wait to get into this, but I don't understand. Bob Arum and Top Rank jump back into boxing like bam, just throwing decent fights on. And now you see PBC is going to come back re-airing older fights from 2015. I don't understand that.
Well, PBC pays their guys pretty good. They're marquee guys. So I think they're being patient. Remember, they came out and announced Danny Garcia or Earl Spence for September. They
Hmm.
didn't give a specific date on it yet. PBC guys get paid. They get paid pretty well, albeit sometimes not for fighting tough opponents. So I mean, it's okay. I mean, they're not losing any. It's not like boxing is losing any ground because PBC ain't putting guys on. And I'm sure the PBC guys ain't minding because they want to get the regular checks they've been getting. Right? Look at everybody else is complaining about their cut and pay. So PBC said, okay, well, if you want the same amount of money, then you're gonna have to wait. And these guys are choosing to wait, and that's their choice. So I'm okay with it.
All right, I didn't hear any of the top ranked guys complaining about their pay. I've heard.
You forgot when Terrence Crawford came out like 2 months ago and all his first hit and said he would not be fighting without fans because he's not going to take a cut and pay.
Yeah, we talked about Terrence
Yeah,
Crawford saying that, but who? I mean, who that has fought like Shakur Stevenson? You didn't hear him talk about pay.
he's not getting paid a lot of money either. He's still a prospect. Granted, he's
Champion.
he's a champion, but
How you a
he's
prospect with a belt?
because they giving him out like candy.
Nah, he earned it.
Devin Haney also has a belt. Who is he beating? Exactly. Point for me. That's two in a row.
No,
Um, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, they look. It's a combat sport, man. Let these guys choose their own fate. I want these guys to get paid as much as they can get paid for the punishment and the risk that they take. So let them do that. And if PBC guys,
so wait a minute. Would you have said the same thing if UFC came back just showing old fights? No,
they
because you were talking about how they changed the game, how they were ahead of the curve because
and they're
they
not
put
paying
on real fight.
anybody. And listen, and it's cool. It's cool from a consumer standpoint. As a fan, I'm grateful.
That's
But if
what
I'm
I'm
in a
talking about from a
but if
fan. I'm not talking about from the benefit of the boxer. I'm talking about from the fan.
but if PBC fans don't care, boxing fans are boxing fans. You're watching boxing. Danny
I,
Garcia,
I
Earl
disagree.
Spence,
I,
Danny
I
Garcia, and
I
Earl Spence.
wholeheartedly disagree.
Danny,
Their ratings are not going to be anywhere where they would have been had they had actual fights on.
bro, you think that because Top Rank is putting on fights right now that Earl Spence and Danny Garcia aren't going to do numbers? You're kidding yourself.
I didn't say, first of all, that's an argument you're making with yourself. I'm not even concerned with them and whether they're going to do numbers. I'm talking about you've been going this long and you put on reruns, an old fight. That's like the NFL coming back saying, we'll play in a couple of weeks, but this Sunday when you normally watch a real football game, we're going to air a game from 2007.
So where have you been the last 3 months? Because that's what all the sports leagues are doing. Basketball's
Except
doing it.
for,
Baseball's doing it.
but listen, boxing when it came back.
Boxing's been back 2 weeks. Stop it. Stop it right
But
now.
but again, they're not showing old fights. That's
They
retarded.
were. They were showing old
I'm
fights. Remember
talking
you was
about
talking.
now. Stop talking about were. I'm talking about now. They're not showing old fights.
So what do you
Why would
suggest, Rashawn?
PBC? Why would PBC decide? You know what? We want some of this market, but we're not going to give you an actual fight.
You know why they can decide to do that? Because they own the market. They've
Okay,
had the biggest viewership of all the promoters, so they can afford to do that.
they're letting Top Rank gain on them, but that's okay. That's a great job, Uncle Al.
What big dogs from Top Rank are fighting? Have you seen Bud Crawford fight yet?
First
Have
of
you
all, you
have
already
you seen
established
Bud Crawford fight yet?
you can't even
Have
make
you
that
seen Have
argument.
you seen Lomachenko fight
You
yet?
can't even make that argument
Have you
because
seen Teofimo fight?
you said since they're the only game in town, they don't and there's no audience, they don't have to put the big dogs out to fight. but they're gaining ground because they're letting people see normal people, top ranked fighters who would not be seen, and
bro.
people are watching.
Bro, casual fans like yourself are not concerned with promoter allegiance. Hardcore fans
Did
may
this
be,
man just call me a
but
casual fan? Okay,
that's
go
what you
ahead.
because that's what you acting like right now.
No, I'm not. No, I'm
The
not.
casual
I'm
fan
acting
doesn't
like I have some common sense
the
and I want to
casual
watch real boxing.
the
I can
ca-
go watch I can go watch old boxing matches on YouTube. Why would I come home, turn on my TV, and sit down to watch something that I could pull up on YouTube in my leisure? Why would I make it a priority to watch a PBC fight when it's old?
because people rewatch old fights all the time.
Oh my God. All right, bro. All right. Don't do my marketing. I appreciate that.
Well, you got to get some money first and a brand, and then when you do that, we'll figure that out. But as
No, I
last time
won't
I
come to
checked,
you. Not
last
after
time I
that.
checked,
I
PBC
won't come to
winning.
you.
Hey,
What's
say
going on, DJ Headbuster?
say what you want. You'll be tuned in like everybody else when PBC bring their fighters back out. Cause
When?
all of your favorite fighters,
When?
cause all of your favorite fighters,
When?
all of your
When?
favorite fighters fight for PBC.
When they bring their I like Bud.
Who else you like?
Does it matter?
Who I asked you a question. Who else you like?
Canelo?
Who else you like?
Damn, so you gonna keep having me name
I
somebody
want.
until I name a PBC fighter.
No, I want to see how far down the list you gonna go. Since you're not a casual, who else you like?
Whatever. I'm not a casual. I don't gotta prove it to you. Your hat's on crooked. So
But I'm mad we missing the Greer fight, man. I really
yeah.
want to see this kid. And no, I apologize because I know I said that the kid he's fighting tonight, Plania, I assumed he was Hispanic. He is not. He is
Filipino.
Filipino. Yeah. So egg on my face for that. So, but they say he's pretty good. I saw some people on social media saying this kid's tough. He's coming to fight, and he's not gonna make it easy for Greer.
He's like
Just
20.
we can't watch it.
Is he 25-1 or 29
Yeah,
and one?
he's only got one loss. He's 20 something and one.
And he said
he's
he
23-1. I think
comes out the same town as Pacquiao. Same gym, that whole area. But I like the song Joshua Greer came into, especially during this day and time.
What was that?
They don't really care about us.
Oh, hey man, statements.
So
Man.
I thought it was pretty cool, actually. Cheers to you, Greer.
But I mean, shoot, man, these athletes ain't playing around, bro.
Mm-mm.
They're not. So I mean, and look, now is the time to use your platform for more than showing what you can buy.
You're right.
So this is important. This is cool.
Listen, what about what's this guy's name? Mimonov?
Yeah, that's Jason Galarza's kid.
The one from Kazakhstan?
Yep, he used to train in over in Orlando
Right.
with Galarza. I think he just, if I'm not mistaken, I think he just transitioned. Not just, but I think his last 2 or so fights, he had transitioned to a new trainer. I want to say it was Freddie Roach, but I think it may not be with him. But Jason had like 2 or 3 of those kids over there, man. Them boys, you know how hard they punch.
Yeah. I thought it was funny. They said when he came over here, or he was coming over here, he reached out to Gennady Golovkin for some help. And Golovkin said, "Hey, this is America. They don't do it like that over here." So he went and sparred with Canelo. That was a smooth move, though, man.
And listen, having gone to Kazakhstan before, bro, they worship Triple G over there. So I wonder what kind of blowback Mamirov may have gotten, or if they were like, "Yo, Triple G, you really left the little homie out to dry like that?" So I don't know. I'm not a native, so I guess if I ever go back again, I can ask.
Yeah, you can. I'm sure they'll remember you.
Maybe not.
I'm just saying, probably not a lot of people looking like you walking through Kazakhstan.
That is also true. That is also true.
I like the videos though that you took when you were over there.
Both can be true. Both things can be true.
I like you took some video when you were over there.
Yeah.
I like those. I mean, a black man with sunglasses in a foreign country. When they realized you weren't CIA, it was probably an interesting introduction.
And on top of that, it was like freezing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you from Florida. If it's like 70 out, man, yeah.
This is also true. You on a roll right now, bro. Keep it up.
3-0. Hey. It's good to be on a roll, bro. It's good to be on a roll.
You gotta relax.
It's good to be on a
It's not
roll.
even time yet.
It's always time for the turnover chain. Always time for the turnover chain. What else you got, bro?
I did catch that heavyweight fight though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Torres versus Perez. I thought Tim Bradley was a little overly critical. Okay, we know that these aren't elite heavyweights. They're works in progress. I did see some things I liked from those guys, but that was a pretty good fight. It was only a what, 4 rounder or 6 rounder?
I think it was a 6 round.
6 rounder. Yeah.
Yeah. Might
And
be.
Perez won, and he's from Fort Lauderdale, Tamarack, so he's a Florida guy. So he gets our support, so that's cool.
Hey, did you see the first fight?
Nah, bro. Listen. I was in transit coming from the gym. I missed everything except I walked in on the heavyweight fight and then the Mamarov fight, and of course we're missing the Greer fight right now. But yeah, I missed everything, bro. But I did see that our boy supposedly got destroyed, and they gave him the fight.
Yes.
Did he really? He looked bad, bro.
What's his name?
No, it wasn't DeMarco.
DeMarco was the one that should have won.
It was DeMarco. Oh, okay, so he beat Giovanni.
Santillan. Yeah, Santai, Sante. Something. They gave it to Giovanni.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah,
man.
they literally gave it to him.
It was so bad that my brother called me and told me about it.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, and I didn't know he was talking about Giovanni at the time because we were hoping that Giovanni would have a good showing of himself. We remember from a couple years ago where he did the Hurricane Sammy here at Alabama in Tampa.
Yes.
Wow, man, and he had been working so hard. I mean, he keeps the undefeated record, but come on, man, people gonna remember this.
And Timothy Bradley and Dre said it. They both said, "Look, he doesn't deserve a title shot because that veteran worked him. He worked him.
DeMarco's been around, man.
Yeah.
DeMarco fought Braun. DeMarco has, you pull up his box rate, he's done been around, man.
He had a title. He had the 135-pound WBC, right? And Bronner took it from him.
Beat it from him, yeah.
Yeah, but he had 5 defenses. Yeah, I mean he's a veteran, man, but he's a veteran with world-class experience.
Yep, and like you said, former champ.
He was working that body from round 1 all the way to round 10. Giovanni got the last round. I give him the last round and maybe 1 or 2 in the beginning, but through that middle, dang, it was like he took time off. He couldn't. He would throw like 2 or 3 shots, and they would get picked off, and then DeMarco would just drop a body shot on him, like 3 right hooks in a row. It was, DeMarco really won that fight. I like Giovanni. I like when he came in, and one thing it does show is it shows the clear divide at some points between the local champions, regional champions, and the national, or we call world champions. Just the levels. You may not have a belt, but you're on that level. And we saw this kid destroy Hurricane Sammy. I mean, he destroyed him. He finally steps up in class, and Andre Ward made the statement, this shows why it's taken him so long to get to this level. You're 25-0, and this is your first real TV fight. He hadn't been in against strong competition. He's been able to run over the competition that he's had, but it hasn't been recognized competition. And even though he has DeMarco's name on his credit, that was a gift. That was a true gift. And, I hope he gets better from this, because even he said it. DeMarco had so much experience. He couldn't do anything with DeMarco until the last round. And he still didn't do a lot with him. But I think the judges gave him, don't get me wrong, before the decision came out, I just had this thing pop in my head where somebody says, you're going to be all right unless you get knocked out. Because he's on the way up. Obviously, that just popped through my head. And then they give the decision. I'm like, it's like, It's like the judges weren't watching the fight. One had it 95-95. And the other two had it, other two had it 96-94. And I'm like, this dude didn't even win half the rounds. How you get it? It was ridiculous, bro. It was ridiculous. I'm sorry you missed it.
Yeah, me too. But in instances like this, you get people that talk about this is why the UFC is better, right? Um,
What?
we've seen robberies in the UFC before.
Quite a bit.
Um, this one feels different because you kill for these moments and these ratings, right? If you're boxing, you live for these moments because you've become such a niche sport in the last 25 to 30 years that now you got the attention of the world, or at least the American consumer, and this happens. This is not a good look. And if you got casual people and people that just kind of loosely watch the sport that may not even really know what they're watching, to say this is a robbery, bro, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting to
Mm-hmm.
see what Uncle Bob has to say about it because he was in on it.
Yeah, I mean, he was holding the gun.
Yeah. And listen, who's gonna get some flack for this is probably Carl Moretti, the matchmaker, because how did you match our top prospect unless this was his moment and this was his litmus test to see where he would go and he failed. But I don't think you put your prospect in there that you're trying to build into a star. Mind you, Giovanni was what 25-0
Mm-hmm.
fighting out of San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna bring a whole demographic with him. He seems to be a personable kid. You put him there with an old vet that's a retread that's never gonna probably get back to that level again.
But then
This is what
again,
happens.
you think now, DeMarco back in 2017 beat another undefeated prospect where he was supposed to just be an opponent for.
Mm.
The guy's got tread on him. He still does. And he makes them fight at his pace. That was the problem with the fight for Giovanni. Giovanni was fighting at DeMarco's pace for at least 11 out of those 12 rounds.
But this is the thing, though, bro. Right? So look at it from this standpoint. Who is DeMarco going to fight? Look at who's at the top of 135. Think about that, man. Teofimo Lopez, Loma, Devin Haney. What's my other kid name? I just was on the tip of my tongue. Doggone it, Devin Teofimo, Tank Davis. Come on,
Yeah.
man. He's not.
No, but okay, if he can't beat him, you know this other kid can't beat him.
Oh no. I get it. I'm saying from a top rank perspective, now you've just lost your prospect. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Giovanni was no. What I'm saying is you got a retread vet that you really he's gonna be your gatekeeper, right? You're bringing him in to see what your younger guys can do, and he's beating them. That's not how that's supposed to work, man. It's not supposed to work like that.
So they're gonna make it. They're gonna
Yeah.
manufacture.
Well, it don't matter now because the stories out on him. He's probably gonna get. Listen, even if they match him correctly moving forward, the tape is out on him. I don't know, man. It's gonna be a tough road to climb for Giovanni. It's possible, but it's gonna be tough.
A humorous moment. I know this is not shouldn't be humorous, but it was kind of humorous to me when Joe Tessiter was talking about, Giovanni is fighting for a chance at a world title, and they were talking about DeMarco, and he said when he wins the fight, he's gonna buy his daughters a dog. And Joe Tessiter, I know he caught himself afterwards. He was like, "So one's fighting for a chance at the title, and one's fighting for a dog."
And this is why you lead on this show, bro, because you pick up on stuff like that. And it is definitely humorous. The sad thing about it is it's true because I bet you DeMarco's not making very much money.
No, you're right. And they get the loser share when they lose. So
And that's saying a lot for a former world champion.
yeah, yeah. Who's beating people still? It's just ah. Boxing is a tough sport. It's not just tough because you get beaten up every time you get in the ring, but it's tough that even if you're still good enough to be at the top, when your star fades in the eyes of the people who are controlling it, no matter what you do, you got to knock somebody out to get back there. And then they may not give you another fight if you knock out too many prospects.
That's a real thing too. Um, any updates on the Greer fight? I was trying to keep up with it, but I can't.
No, I was actually going to run in there, but I said, no, let me just stay here.
You weren't gonna run anywhere, bro.
Yes, listen, bro, I can still run, bro. I found that out
Okay.
the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my daughter was riding her bicycle, and I was walking, and she took off real fast, and she fell.
Oh,
I don't know what happened. It was like a dog was chasing me,
yeah, man, daddy mode, bro.
and I ran, and I didn't even like. I ran, and I picked her up, and I'm trying to be real calm. All right, now get up, dust yourself off, because I didn't see no blood, nothing was hanging out. So dust yourself off. Let's go. So she went and sat down, and then my breath caught up to me. Just,
Oh, so you turned into the Hulk real quick,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then when you came back to yourself, it's like, man, I'm tired.
No, fortunately, she was ready to go in.
So it worked out for you.
Yes, it did. It did. But I would. Hey, that's my poo right there.
Absolutely, she is awesome. That's
it's,
cool, man.
it's amazing what happens when something happens to them and you're like,
So I got a question for you, bro. How do you feel about Oscar and Ryan Garcia? We forgot about him at 135 as well, Ryan Garcia. How you feel about them two going at it? This is getting chippy, man. What's going? Is Oscar losing all his guys? Cause him and Canelo ain't seen eye to eye either. What is going on over there at Golden Boy, man?
well, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Oscar follow Uncle Bob's model? Aren't they kind of tied in?
Mm, I think he's dealing more with the zone than he is top rank. But
He
they
is,
but
but
they've worked together before.
I'm talking about the model because he came out from under Uncle Bob. Uncle
Oh,
Bob
yeah,
helped him get started with Golden Boy.
maybe so.
I mean, okay, and now Oscar also has an ego because remember he was at the top. That ego just doesn't leave because you start up a business. Usually, that ego kind of fuels your business.
Oh yeah, and listen, he's a winner, so he
Yeah,
wants to win and be the best at everything. Even though he's quirky
right.
and he wears female stockings and all that kind of other weird shit, he's a
What?
winner. I'm talking about Oscar De La Hoya, man.
I know. What'd you say about what?
He wears female stockings. Remember he got what went viral when he had the fishnet stockings on and stuff. There's no way you missed that. Means have been going around about that for years. There's no way you've missed that.
Maybe I just forgot. I suppressed it.
I'm hoping you forgot, and that
Yeah.
could be it. You could, you just suppressed it. Just
It's not
all the
something
trauma
anybody really wants to see, like
from
Dre
seeing De
wearing
La
the
Hoya.
dress.
There you go.
Yeah, no, that's just. Oh man. Okay. And again, sometimes we get too, and we don't know. We weren't inside Golden Boy's boardroom. We don't know. But sometimes owners of businesses, when they see it going down, it's not their fault. Or they get to a certain point where, you know, they get out of touch with their fighters because, hey, we're having success. We don't know. We're not inside the boardroom. But when it happens to more than one or two or three fighters, you start having to ask questions like they do with Dana White. Why is this behavior repeating itself with your fighters if you're not doing anything wrong? So I'd love to be a fly on the wall, but
So Ryan Garcia has 6.5 million followers on Instagram.
whoa,
Yeah, that might be the most of any fighter not named Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather,
whoa.
or Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah,
I think Anthony Joshua. I think Wilder and Joshua have what? I think Joshua's at like 8 million or so. I haven't checked in a while, but Ryan Garcia, not a champion, a prospect, has 6.4 million followers on Instagram. Now here's the thing. This is where we sit back and we smile and rub our hands together, right? Because we have a dastardly plan, right? Why is it that they can't figure out a way to monetize that kid's value? Now we're just gonna leave it at that. That's an open-ended question for our viewers and for people that feel like they have the answer. We know what's up, but why can't they figure out a way to pay this kid?
Joshua has 11.3 million.
Okay.
He actually gained followers after he lost and won the titles back.
Yeah.
I'm saying that so I don't answer your question.
Yeah, yeah. So what's Wilder at? The Bronze Bomber.
Bomb Squad 2.9 million.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Oof.
That sounds
Wait a
about
minute. So
right.
Ryan Garcia has more followers than Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
That kid should be loaded, bro.
Hey man, listen. What is Oscar doing? I'm gonna tell you what he gonna do.
He
He
gonna
gonna
lose his
mess
fighters.
right. I mean, he might have him tied up in some real crazy deal, but at what? What's Garcia? 19, 20?
Something like that.
If I was him, I'd sit down for a couple of years. They let me go.
Yeah.
Now he can't afford to do that, obviously, because they ain't been paying him now. So he don't have no money to sit down for 2 years. But I think he just became a father too. But
Oh, you got to fight.
yeah. But man, I'm telling you, man, that's ugly. Everybody can't be Mikey Garcia, right? Mikey went to sit down for what 2 years on Bob Arum ass. They let him go,
Yeah.
and now he the bad. Now listen, Mikey got the business figured out, man. Mikey is a free agent. He dibble and dabble wherever he want to go. Whoever offered the biggest check, that's where he go.
And they got to pay him because he can fight.
And he's gonna bring fans with him.
Yeah. That's crazy. Now, if I would love to sit down with Ryan Garcia and say, here's what you need to do, and you can hang your gloves up.
Hey, listen, we can't give him all the free game right now, bro.
I didn't say nothing about free. But it would help him out. So,
Yeah.
right, I got you. Ah, man, look, I really want to know about that fight.
I
I
was
don't
trying
think,
to check for it, but I couldn't see it.
I don't think it's gonna go the distance. I just don't. Although
I ain't even, yeah.
that kid looked tough, man.
I'm just mad we're sticking to our roles and I ain't got on the big screen behind me, right?
That's true.
That's Rocky right
That
there.
would have made sense. Oh no, because then they said we were rebroadcasting,
Right. We want
but
to get
we're not.
flagged.
We're not rebroadcasting anything.
Well, we ain't got no pull to do anything right now. We gotta wait to get our weight up. Maybe when we get our weight up a little bit, then we can do something like that. But right now, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
And
Mess
they
around
put
have
one
to
of our shows down the other day.
I'm saying mess around have to rebrand everything, messing around with top ranking ESPN.
No, no, no. YouTube took one of our fighter share reports off. I meant to tell you that.
Really?
Yeah, they said they're picking and choosing. I mean, because really, they said that we broke a policy as far as rebroadcasting. I guess because of our opening. So I'm gonna change that. I'm working on that
Yeah,
now.
just go ahead and get rid of it. Yeah.
Because that just you tell us we're okay. The UFC pulled us off of Facebook. Then they said, well, no, you're okay because there were 1,000 YouTube channels that had the same clip. So I'm trying to figure out why Facebook. They won't tell me why. I mean, why YouTube, but they won't tell me why they pulled us off.
Mm.
But they pulled that just one episode of the Fighter Share Report off. Ridiculous.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
Ridiculous. Um, dog it. Okay. Since we talk about other stuff as well, I was told I'm looking for the report that there was another young black man found hanged in Houston the other day. And again, they're saying he hung himself.
I don't know, man. And I'm not throwing that around loosely. I really don't know what's happening. I do know that there's a certain energy, there's a certain temperature that's going around right now, and it's gonna have to release itself at some point. What's going on in Seattle, I think, is more telling of a conflict that has to resolve itself. And if it can't be resolved peacefully, then we're in for a long, long summer. They've taken over how many city blocks up there in Seattle?
I was trying to remember. I knew that question was coming.
I think like 4 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right near the police precinct in
Well,
downtown of a
I
major American city.
my well, here's the thing. That's what they say. It's an Asian American city.
No, I said a major
Oh, major.
American
I'm
city.
sorry. My aunt lived out there for about my aunt Jessie lived out there for about 40 years, 45 years before she passed. Then my aunt Billy lived out there for about the same number of years. And then she recently moved back to Baltimore. They have had a lot of unrest. It just it got no national exposure. And this was back in like 90. 93, 94. Um, it was like they were cops were knocking off young black males like crazy. And it wasn't like a short time frame. It was a major, it was a long, it was like Chicago, that on that scale, or New York on that scale. It was happening quite a bit, but nobody was doing anything about it. And it was getting no exposure. So there's been a lot of unrest out there. It's been one of those cities that's been insulated. I mean, even Tacoma and areas right around there were having issues, but not like on the scale of well, I guess that whole area you blended in, but it was insulated. All you heard about with Microsoft and the Seahawks and the Mariners. Answer Mix a lot.
I remember watching a special about a year ago, maybe it was a little longer than that, where a Native American man was killed out in Seattle, and the terms or the story was just very one sided. I think it ended up having something to do with mental health. Either way, any major American city, or especially a city the size of Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, Seattle is the second largest city on the West Coast. Is Seattle bigger than San Fran? I know they're close. I know LA is number one, but I think Seattle might be bigger than San Fran. If not, they're very close in size.
They're very close.
Okay. So you're going to have those issues. And when you have a city that's a melting pot like Seattle, especially with a heavy Asian influence, you're going to have those things. We were shocked to find out about all the deaths that happened in Minneapolis. You got to remember, Flandel Castile wasn't the first one.
Nope.
You see? So we are, like you say, we are isolated, especially when you talking about places that are on the other side of the country. You know, Seattle's probably as far as you can get from Florida on the continental 48, right? So that news probably doesn't travel here. Same thing with Minnesota. Minnesota's very far away, and on top of that, they're not really known for doing a whole lot there, right? They kind of just, they kind of do their own thing. But back to your original statement, I don't know how to feel about it, bro. And I don't mean that in a manner of me being calloused or cold or indifferent. I just don't understand. It seems to be happening so frequently, and I don't know if I want to believe that someone is actually doing this. I think that's my thing. I think I've seen so much lately that I just don't want that to be the case. But if it is, man, jeez, bro,
Yeah. I just found
it's gonna get way worse before it get better.
I
Way
just
worse.
found a story on BET's news network. Um, and it says a man has was reportedly been found dead and hanging from a tree Monday morning.
But
Uh,
that guy, but isn't he Mexican? Isn't he Hispanic?
I was gonna say
Okay.
June 15th in a vacant lot in Houston. Okay, but here's the thing. Their title of the story says man found hanging from a tree in Houston days after similar instances in LA.
Yeah, in California, I saw that one as
Yeah.
well too. Yeah.
So it's kind of it. Here's the thing, and I'm not off by saying this. What they knew was going to happen with when you take a George Floyd case and you allow it to rise to national level and you allow people to protest and you give them a voice, and then the leader of the far right starts making concessions in the last days, or I said the face of the far right starts making quote unquote concessions in the last days. And then you have Roger Goodell coming out saying that Colin Kaepernick should get an opportunity to play again in the NFL. When you have so many who had venom in their voice about him. You have so many who felt like the police are getting a bad rap. What starts to happen is you get a resurgence in hate groups, and they start coming back with a vengeance. And because of who runs this country, you will not label them as a terrorist organization, because then you have to do certain things when a group is labeled as a terrorist organization that you don't want to do because they look like you. So you can expect these things because they're trying to make a statement. If they shoot you in a parking lot because you push them down, that statement's not strong enough. If they box you in with trucks and they videotape your murder, that may not be strong enough. But if they hang you, that rings loud and clear over generations. And when the police department says, oh, it looks like an apparent suicide, what they're trying to do is remind you of your place. Because listening to my father-in-law, when he grew up in Alabama, he talked of very frequently his mom in the middle of the night telling him to get under the bed. This wasn't a century ago. This was in the 50s and in the 60s. Get under the bed, because you can see all these headlights from these trucks lining the street in front of your house. And they would just come in, just kicking your door and look for somebody. May not be the person they were looking for, but they would look at somebody that would satisfy their thirst for your blood. They would take him out not too far from your neighborhood, sometimes in your neighborhood, and they would hang him in a tree and they would burn him while he hanged. And then the next day, the police would come through and do an investigation and say, looks like he hung himself. So this isn't something that is far-fetched. This is something that hits home, and they want it to hit home. They don't want it to be something that you can dismiss and say, well, if he had done this. No, they want you to know that they're not far removed from what they used to do to us decades ago. Now, that's just my opinion.
Well, there is some credence to that. What's interesting now? This is the curveball. The guy that they hung in the guy they hung in Houston, he was Mexican, correct?
He
I
was
want to.
Hispanic. Yeah.
I thought I read where they say he was Mexican.
He might have been.
Okay,
They got Mexicans our color.
this is my point though, right? What happens if they also went after this man because he was Hispanic, because he was Mexican? What happens then?
Right. Right. Because remember, 45 said that they're all rapists, murderers, and thugs, and bringing drugs in the country. Remember, he stood on television and kept repeating that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy. I feel like this hanging thing is weird. Now, there were two young ladies that killed themselves last week, within the last 2 weeks. One was a show writer for the This Is Us, the show on NBC.
Hmm.
My cousin knew her personally. She hung herself. She committed suicide. There was another young lady that committed suicide. I don't know much about her. Apparently, she was really close with Charlemagne the God. I don't know if she was a podcaster. I don't know where what she where she fit, or what she had going on. But that was another case that got some attention. So in these times of social and civil unrest, people that are suffering from mental health like anxiety, this could be happening. Now, I'm not saying that to say that this is what happened with these other guys, with the guy in Houston and the guy out in California. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that people are starting to crack. Like, if you suffer from anxiety, could you imagine what it's like being afraid of COVID, and then being afraid of how you're gonna how you gonna get your next paycheck, how you're gonna feed your kids or your family, if you have a job to go back to, depending on what you do. And on top of that, now they're killing people indiscriminately in the streets, and it's being recorded and broadcast over the world. That's a lot to unpack, man. So That's why we got to look out for each other, man, and check in on people because this is crazy times we living in, man.
I don't like the term mental health, because mental health puts so many different stigmas on situations that they may not belong in the same box, but it is real and it comes in different phases. And people that are getting to that point of taking their own lives, you may not even know because they may still smile, laugh, joke, come to work. They may they may do everything still normal,
Have money,
have money,
yeah,
be on the verge of turning things around, and they just don't see it. And then they're gone, and then you start seeing the signs. Oh man, I thought something was. I should have noticed,
well, the one young lady that killed herself, she suffered from anxiety, and people knew it. So,
but
oh man,
you never know when that pressure cooker has
yeah,
reached its limit, man.
and listen, and it's so interesting and so on point that you brought that up because that's what's going on right now. It feels like a pressure cooker, and you know what happens? You
There's
can only hold
steam, and
on
then
for so
boom.
long. Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Listen, we worked with somebody who committed suicide. Who knew? Who? I mean,
yeah,
and then I hear people talk about, well, yeah, well, they were talking about all the bad stuff going on in her life. Like she was in my training class, but I didn't go. I don't smoke, so we didn't go out. I didn't go outside when she went on smoke breaks. But we would talk, in the break room or joke around. But I never really knew what she was dealing with. So when she killed herself, I'm like, and people are like, well, man, she said that, you know, this was happening to her, and this person was beating her and misusing her and taking her money. And why didn't y'all say something? Why didn't y'all try to get her some help?
yeah. Nah, and I had the absolute pleasure and honor of working with someone that also committed suicide, and it was crazy because for me to speak with this person every day and not see any of those signs, I was under the assumption this person was happy, they were young, they had the whole world in front of them. I never knew anything. I never saw anything. And then when it happened and some people around start saying different things, it was just like, wow, and nobody said anything.
Right.
Nobody said anything. Nobody came to me and said, hey, so and so might need some help. It's crazy.
Everything starts with a conversation.
Yep.
And that's I'm sorry, I heard something like somebody screaming on the TV, and I could hear Joe Testator's voice. I think Playa won.
I'm not surprised. He was game. He was game. Wow.
He did win.
Oh man. Oh man. And what did I say the other night on the show? When we talked about what did I say? Now I want to be. I want to. I wish I could watch it so I could see what he did. But we knew he was tough. But I also said this about Greer. He likes to headhunt. He's fallen in love with his power. That whole pillow gimmick. He's fallen in love with. He has to box. And I haven't watched the fight yet, so I don't know how this thing unfolded. But I would be curious to see that. Wow, what an upset! This has not been a good night for top ranking their prospects. This is
Not
bad.
at all. I
This
guess
is
they could.
bad.
This had to be bad if they couldn't give this to Greer.
And listen, we got to talk to Carmen Reddy. What's up with this matchmaking, man?
Yeah, man.
How your
Ooh,
top dogs getting beat like this in front of the whole world?
ooh, ain't nothing else on, so all the people watching.
Man,
Maybe I might want to take back what I said. Maybe Uncle Al's doing the smart thing. Bro, bro. Listen, you said something on just going back to that topic. When you deal with someone who's getting close to killing themselves, they usually have so many layers to them. sometimes they would say they're protective layers. Like you said, they laugh, they joke, they smile. They're one way around you. But when you're alone in your mind, that's a lonely place, bro. And
Yeah.
it's hard for somebody to get there. So I agree with you. We need to check in on people, reach out to them, really find out how they're doing. Not just, hey, how you? Maybe ask that extra question. As uncomfortable as it may be, maybe ask that extra question, because when you start falling down that rabbit hole, you start going down that lonely road, you don't know what it could take to trigger you to come back. And you may never know that you would have won, or you made some statement, or just you showing that you care brought somebody back. But that's not for us to know. But if we can be a part of the process, that's all we can hope. Didn't want to go down that road, but
I
it
mean,
happened.
you can't help it, man, because this is the times that we living in, and I think to talk about it, I think to not talking about it, you're not doing yourself a service, because this is a bigger issue than anything any of us could ever imagine. So these conversations have to be had. There's always going to be a place for sports, and look, this show is a combat sports based show, and we're going to always talk about that. But when these type of issues are going on in the world around us, and they're affecting people that we know, and even affecting us to a degree, we got to talk about it, man.
Yeah, you're right. So if you see me falling down that road, bro, reach out to me.
I got you, bro.
I appreciate that. My daughter would appreciate that later when she needs somebody to buy her a car when she turns 16. Because her mama would just say, "Here, you drive."
Hey,
Just saying. I don't think they're gonna get along at that point. Listen, did I tell you about when I was that time I was in the restaurant and Jesus walked in?
what's that? No, you
I,
didn't.
I was sitting in this restaurant that used to be in Carver City called, not Carver City, it was in Progress Village, um, on Progress Village Boulevard and 78th Street in that plaza called Simply Good. Shout out to Cecil Shalom, who used to run it. But we were sitting in there, and Quasi and I were sitting there, and we were sitting kind of off in one of the booths, and over by the counter they had a table, and there was a Baptist preacher we knew, a Methodist preacher, and a Presbyterian preacher sitting there having lunch. And of course, the Presbyterian preacher had a cup of tea, the Methodist preacher had a cup of coffee, and the Baptist preacher had an orange knee high. So they're sitting there talking, and all of a sudden the door opens and Jesus walks in. And it's pretty amazing to see Jesus walk in this restaurant. So he walks up to their table and they stand there like, "Oh, Jesus, oh my goodness, it's really you." So I'm not saying nothing. So Jesus says, "Yes, it is I." And the Presbyterian minister says, "Well, let me get you a cup of tea." And the Methodist minister is like, or preacher's like, "Let me get you a cup of coffee." And the Baptist minister yells, "Hey, it's Jesus. Get him a orange knee high. It's on me." So everybody's looking. Jesus is like, "You gentlemen are so thankful, just to offer that to me. It lets me know where your heart is." So he reached down and he touched the Presbyterian minister. And Presbyterian minister says, "Oh my goodness, thank you, Jesus. That crook in my neck is gone." So he reached out and he touched the Methodist preacher, and he's like, "Oh my goodness, Jesus, I had a catch in my knee and it's gone." So he went to reach out and touch the Baptist preacher, and he looked up and he was running out the door talking about, "You trying to take away my disability, Jesus." It was an interesting conversation. It, what?
Really, bro?
What?
The Baptist preacher, bro. That's what he did,
Hey, gotta supplement that income.
bro.
What?
Listen, I'm not mad at that because the stereotypes surrounding Baptist preachers, well, we already know how that goes. So that was actually on time, bro. I'm not mad at that one. That was on time.
You know, I catch a lot of flack because I'm one. So when I tell that joke, people are like, "Really, really?"
Yeah, yeah. Do they really know you?
I guess not,
Guess
because
not.
I'm really not a denominational preacher. So
You aren't a lot of things, but a good dude is one of them. We'll leave it at that.
wow. Even though there was a backhanded slap in that, I'll take that compliment all day.
You're welcome.
And the music stopped right on time.
Right on cue.
Whoa. I'm done. Shout out to my wife, to my daughter, to my mom, to the Fighter Share Nation.
Yeah, what word on the street is that Greg got washed. He got dropped in the first round by a lead left hook. So
Stop.
yeah, he like he was getting beat up the whole fight. Mm-mm-mm. Carmen ready the matchmakers at Top Rank if you're listening. You gotta
Oh,
do better with your prospects, man.
yeah,
This is a bad night for your prospects.
yeah. You gave one a victory, and the other one is, you couldn't take
He
it
just
from.
got mopped. So on that note, man, listen, we appreciate everybody checking in with us, man. Catch us on the Beatdown every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Fighter Show Report every Wednesday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Shouts out to everybody that tuned in for us. Great night for boxing. Everybody that stay safe, checking on your loved ones. Fighter Show Nation, we'll see y'all.